Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much to Kim and the team for inviting me. For those who don't know me, as they've said, my name is Sophie Otiende. I find defining myself a difficult thing, but it's important for me in this, based on what the subject that I'm talking about, to actually define myself. So a few years, this year actually, I was turning 40. And for the past 40 years, I believed that my mother, whom I love very much, named me after the time of day I was born. In my community, when you are born at a particular time of day, you are given a particular name. And so I was born at 12 p.m. when the sun is highest in the sky. And if you are born at that time, you are called a Ching. However, when I asked my mother about it, so for all the time I thought my name basically means I was born at 12 p.m. And then on my 40th birthday, I was just saying it casually to my friends, and my mom stopped me. And she said, no, that's not what I named you after. And then she basically told me, if you break the name Achieng into A and then Cheng, in my language of Luo, basically translates to the sun. And she said that I've always been her son. And I think it's so important when you're talking about belonging to talk about being chosen. And so for me, I am always my mother's son. I like that definition. I like that definition because I think we talk about belonging in abstract ways, and somebody yesterday actually mentioned it, but belonging is such a practical thing. And so belonging to my mother is part of my identity, and it's a core part of me. And I know that other people don't have the privilege of saying that they belong to their mother, but I have that privilege of saying that I am my mother's son. I belong to her first and foremost because she has chosen me. And belonging is about being chosen. There's something special about being chosen. My father, because I'm the first daughter in an African family, it means that I'm also named after my father's mother. So to my father has never called me Sophie. My father calls me mother. I'm always his mother. So that's my other identity, that I'm my father's mother. And therefore, I'm connected and rooted to a very specific lineage of women and people who make me who I am. And lineage is important. It's important to be rooted. Lineage is important because it gives you a specific assurance of being connected and being rooted to a very particular community, place. My siblings, I have 4, don't call me Sophie. So Sophie is actually my public name. My siblings call me Nyadudi. Nyadudi means a girl from a place called Dudi. So my siblings actually root me to a particular place. And belonging is also about place. It's about place. It's about being connected to a very particular place, and that place provides you resources, that place provides you nourishment. So for me, belonging is also really about place. And I know someone earlier during the panel actually spoke about Palestinians and why people are fighting. Land is so important. It's not just a piece of thing. It gives you identity. It roots you. So, 1, I'm chosen. I belong to a particular lineage. And also, I'm rooted to a very particular land. And that's what gives me identity. I think in questions and poetry, so please bear with me. When I was asked to speak on belonging, what came up for me is questions. questions that I needed answered, and questions that I've really been seeking answers for and continue to learn from different people. And especially most of the conversations I've had with people have really heightened what my understanding is of these questions. So it's 5 questions that I want us to go through and to think about. I want you to help me think about. I'm a survivor of trauma. So I'm a survivor of child sexual exploitation. I'm a survivor of trafficking. And the reason why I survived was because of the communities that loved me. It wasn't because of anything. It was because I was loved. And for me, belonging is about love. Not in a romantic sense, because I think most of us, when we think about love, we think about it as something abstract and not practical. Love is about care. Love is about knowledge. Love is my mother, who didn't know anything about trauma, holding me consistently in the middle of the night as I battled nightmares and insecurity and everything. Love is about my father, who cut off his whole family so that he could show me that he was loyal to me and that he believed me and he saw me and he understood that what I went through was not something that I was supposed to go through. Many survivors of trauma do not have the experience that I have. So I call it a privilege. I call it the privilege of belonging to a place and to a people who have chosen me. For survivors of trauma, one of the biggest things is the question of how do I belong to my body? Please note that I said my body and not myself, because I've never belonged to myself. What trauma does is basically take you out of your body. You are never present, because to be present is to feel all the pain that comes with the trauma. Belonging to my body is the basic tenet of every other foundation that we talk about. Every other form of belonging is basically useless if we cannot allow people to belong to their own bodies, if people cannot be present. So for many survivors of trauma, being present in their body is a luxury, because sometimes a specific smell will trigger you. A specific sound will trigger you. Sometimes a specific person will trigger you. So being absent from your body is the best thing that you could do for yourself. So how do we practically make survivors belong, or people who've gone through abuse belong in their body? That's a question that we have to, as a community, what are the things that we are thinking about in thinking about if people can't be able to even claim belonging to their own body, can we talk about belonging to their land and all these other things? So for me, practically, it raises a spectrum of questions, from who has power to abuse, to what is our public health system and who has access to it. Those, as I said, those who are not present in their bodies cannot belong. So fixing the conditions for those who've been abused makes it extremely important to think, about belonging in a different way. We cannot speak about belonging and not speak about the reasons why people don't belong and what the barriers are. The second question is, how do I belong to my family? And for me, family is not the nuclear family, because that's something that I think for mainly the West has really been an issue, is that this idea of the nuclear family makes us go into fights that don't make sense to me. For me, family is something broader. It's a question on who are the people who are witnesses to my life and defend me and love me. For me, family is the people I maintain healthy relationships with. Do you even know what those look like, healthy relationships? Can we address conflict and repair relationships? Who are the people that make me laugh? Who are the people? Do I have boundaries? One of the things that's really important for me is I also identify as a teacher. So I believe change only happens in relationships. I mean, these meetings are great, but the things that you're going to carry most likely are going to be as a result of the relationships that you develop here. So what are the relationships that have changed you? How have they made you feel like you belong? My mother, and please, I'll be talking about her a lot. My mother talks about a concept called circumference of care. She's a very interesting person. My mother never leaves her house most of the time. She has a very small radius with which she moves. She doesn't speak publicly. She has no social media presence. She doesn't do all those things. My mother believes that one of the things that she taught me was that you only increase your circumference of care in relation to your power and your energy. And most of us have really extended that circumference of care and really have let go of some of the things that are core, some of the relationships that are important for you to belong to, and you could easily create change. And one of the things that has happened is that social media has really made it seem that like documenting our life is our life being witnessed, when in reality, the witnesses to your life are the people that you have close relationships with. And some of us have forgotten even how to have those relationships. So our minds cannot be changed. We cannot be moved. We wonder why it's impossible for us to find empathy for other people when the people you actually have relationships with are not able to move you day to day. Again, these are just basics. So for me, it's important. That's where we start. And I know that many times when some of us speak like this, there's an assumption that this is poetry. We are here to inspire you. I'm not here to inspire you. Maybe I will. But I'm not here to inspire you. I'm here to challenge you to go back to your basics about relationships and about the people that are around you. How do I belong to my community is another thing. Communities include, some of the things include your faith, your church, your workplace. What are the structures in place to make you feel seen, to make you feel appreciated? Do people even understand who you are in the places that you are? Because some of us are a different character depending on which community we are in. And that's not something that, we need to create that. We need to create some form of safety so that people can be able to be authentic in the communities that we show up. I think, again, as someone who's gone through trauma, it's so easy to assume or make assumptions about the fact that your pain is unprecedented. And one of the things that I've learned for me is that my pain is not unprecedented. It isn't. Trauma makes you feel like it's unprecedented, but it isn't. When we tell our stories, especially in communities, they have the ability to join us and to make us understand that we are truly connected. How do I belong to my nation is another question. Because, again, I'm in development, and one of the things that has frustrated me a lot was something I was having a conversation with Judy and Ida on the table on how most development projects start at the nation level, where policies are being made, right? And it's so important for us to make sure that policy gets passed. When we've skipped all these other levels, right? We cannot create policy that is inclusive if we haven't thought about people being in their own body, people being members of their own family, people being members of a community, and then finding an identity in a particular border. So it's strange for me that, that's where most of our things start. And policy change is great, but I'm more, as those of us who come from communities that have always been discriminated against, we know that policies are just as good as, the next politician on the table, right? And now most people can agree with me, unfortunately because of Trump, that, us being nice to each other, being kind to each other, is not controlled by policy. It's not. And when you hear all the stories that people say of the Holocaust in Palestine right now, it's not institutions that saved them. It's people. And sometimes we forget to really understand that how we develop relationships and people are institutions. And how are we building people as institutions? What is our thought process around building people as institutions? Because it's not something that we do. Last but not least is I belong to a global community. I've had the privilege of meeting amazing people who have reminded me that my story is connected to so many other stories. So we cannot underestimate that we belong to a global community. And the only way, again, we get it right as a global community is if people are rooted in themselves. And people don't define safety. And this definition of safety, again, as someone who's gone through trauma, defining safety independently as an individual is the danger. Because all of us, when we define safety collectively, then we don't exclude. But the problem right now is our definition of safety is so individualistic. What are some of the answers we seek? I've said, a return to basics. Think about what it means to be present. I loved the dancing that we did last night. I love the being grounded here and now, being able to see, to smell. Some of us don't even remember the last time you actually recognized all your 5 senses. Like, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you tasting right now? That's being present in your body. For me, the other thing is disrupting the binary between what we call logical and measurable knowledge and lived experience. Because I think as soon as we start saying, and I hate this quote, and I hope people stop using it, I think it's Bill Gates or someone who said that an issue that cannot be measured is not an issue, or something in connection to that. I'm here to say that we might not be able to measure some things, but those things are real. They are real because they happen in our body. Imagination is another thing. I think we've forgotten how to imagine, how to create, how to think. And for me, imagination is not just a source of inspiration of what is to come. For me, imagination has always also been a source of healing. Because if I can see the new world, I can teleport my body to it, and I can be able to recover. I want to say that we live at a point where things are so bleak. And if ever there was a time you needed survivors of trauma to help you navigate, it's now. Because those of us who've gone through absolute trauma understand what darkness is. We know what it looks like. We are not afraid. We faced it. We know how to create answers out of nothing. If ever there was a time that lived experience was important as expertise, it is now. I finish with a poem. I told you, I'm a poet. I wrote this poem at at a very dark time in my life. I think it's one of the poems that I wrote, probably, must have been when I was going through trafficking, maybe 13, I was 13 or 14. And it's called Darkness in a Bottle. So be afraid of them who live with darkness, them who can see through it, them who can make songs out of it, who can make out patterns in the dark. Be afraid of them who, having to live with darkness, decided to bottle it and put it in corners as they made light out of chaos, out of nothing. Be afraid of them who hold the darkness in a bottle, they who know darkness has a limit and light doesn't. Thank you very much.